Darren, Andy.
Oh, I'm inside out. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for coming today, and welcome to the beautiful, incredible Dartmouth waterfront. My name is Darren Fisher. I'm the Member of Parliament here in Dartmouth Cole Harbour, and I welcome you here all today. Just want to take a quick second to acknowledge that many in Atlantic Canada are still struggling with the aftermath of Fiona. Many people in this riding are still without power, and we think of them and we work hard every day to try to get them all back online. It's great to be here with my colleagues, my friends, my family here in beautiful Dartmouth. Just one quick second on the resiliency of Atlantic Canadians. To every person out there that ran an electrical cord from a house with power to a house without power, to every person that sat a chair in a phone charging station, that's what Atlantic Canadians are. That's the kind of people we have here, and I want to personally and publicly thank them for those incredible efforts. Folks, it very much thrills me today to introduce you to and welcome to Dartmouth Cole Harbour the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada.
Good afternoon. Thank you for that introduction, Darren. I'm also glad to be joined by Ministers Fraser and Petitpas Taylor, as well as MPs Fillmore and Diab. Avant de commencer, je tiens à féliciter le Premier ministre Legault pour sa réélection. On a eu l'occasion de discuter au téléphone hier soir et je lui ai dit que j'étais heureux de continuer à travailler avec lui pour le bien des Québécois et de tous les Canadiens. Very grateful to be back here in Atlantic Canada today. Last week, I got to see firsthand the damage from the storm. And as I'd said, it was much worse than images from TV or the internet could show, especially because I got to meet people who were affected. People like Sean and Amy, who had a neighbor's roof from 2 blocks over fly through the air and slam into the side of their house. People like Mitch, who's worried about when he's going to be able to reopen his seafood shop and get back out on the water. People like Smokey in Port aux Basques, who barely escaped from with his life as the waters tugged at and pulled away his home. Hearing their stories, understanding just how devastating this storm was and continues to be for the many tens of thousands of people without power still. Il reste beaucoup à faire et les forces armées canadiennes continuent d'apporter leur aide. On a prolongé leur déploiement d'1 semaine dans toutes les provinces qui avaient demandé leur soutien. On a déployé environ 200 militaires de plus ici en Nouvelle-Écosse pour participer au nettoyage des débris, des routes et des propriétés. On va continuer d'être là pour aider les gens à traverser ces épreuves. C'est ça que les Canadiens font. On est là les uns pour les autres et on va continuer de l'être. I spoke with a lot of business owners who are taking stock and thinking about how to rebuild. Thinking specifically about Barb, who I met last week in Stanley Bridge. She built her antique shop business over 25 years. Last week, when Hurricane Fiona hit, the force of the storm dragged the shop across the parking lot, destroying everything she had built in moments. Although there were still China figurines intact on shelves as they were brought across. Obviously, the water damage to record collections and other antiques was significant. And wondering how to rebuild, how to get the shop back to where it was before and prepare for the future was heavily on her and her husband's mind. Of course, she's not alone. Farmers saw their crops destroyed. Fishing communities across the region have seen boats damaged and gear lost, and wharves and harbors significantly affected. There are countless businesses in the region that are, even as they clean up, wondering how they're going to be able to rebuild. And so today, the federal government is announcing the new $300 million Hurricane Fiona Recovery Fund. This fund will be administered through Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, ACOA, and Développement économique Canada pour les régions du Québec, DEC, as well as other federal departments. This funding will support projects to repair and rebuild storm-damaged critical infrastructure such as wharves, support the cleanup of fishing gear so that boats and marine life can once again safely navigate these waters, of course, help local businesses and communities rebuild and recover. En plus de cette nouvelle annonce, on a aussi d'autres mesures déjà en place pour aider les gens touchés par l'ouragan Fiona. On fournit de l'aide par le biais de l'accord d'aide financière en cas de catastrophe, AAFCC, en travaillant avec les provinces. Et comme je l'ai annoncé la semaine dernière, on accorde un allègement fiscal aux entreprises touchées. We know that it will take time to rebuild. The community support and the strength and, as Darren put it, the resilience of Atlantic Canadians is well known. These are communities where people look out for each other, where people step up for each other, where we're there to help each other out. And I can tell you, Canadians from coast to coast to coast are worried about their fellow Canadians here in Atlantic Canada, and will continue to step up and support, because the community support that I've witnessed here on the East Coast gives me not just hope, but assurance that everything will be done to build back even stronger. You're doing what Canadians have always done, helping each other out, and the federal government will be there with you every step of the way. Un peu plus tard aujourd'hui, je vais me rendre au Centre canadien de prévision des ouragans et on va parler du travail qu'eux ils font pour suivre les tempêtes et communiquer avec les services d'urgence. We know that accurate forecasting was a key part of saving lives during this devastating storm, and the work that the folks at Environment Canada and the Canadian Hurricane Service Centre continue to do is going to be more and more important in the coming years. C'est un travail important qui va sauver des vies et nous permet de toujours être le mieux préparé possible face aux tempêtes qui, comme on le sait, vont malheureusement continuer à s'intensifier dans l'avenir. Merci beaucoup d'être ici aujourd'hui.
OK, merci. Nous avons maintenant du temps pour prendre des questions des médias. We now have time to take questions from media. We'll start with the first question at the mic on my left.
Yeah, hi, Preston Mulligan from CBC. Can you tell me who might be eligible for the funding, when it will be available, and how it will be delivered?
This $300 million is there for supporting people rebuilding on any needs following Hurricane Fiona. We know that there are already programs in place, agricultural programs, disaster mitigation and financial assistance programs. This fund will be there for anyone who is not covered by any of the other programs. We are there to help people rebuild from Fiona, whether it be federal infrastructures, whether it be community infrastructure, whether it be people who are facing challenges from uninsured structural damage in their homes. We are there to help out, but I'm happy to turn it over to Ginette Petitpas Taylor, the Minister from ACOA, to give a little more details. Ginette, please.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Well, first and foremost, I have to say ACOA is extremely well positioned in order to coordinate this funding through the different provinces. ACOA has certainly many points of entry, service center points, where we know the needs on the ground. And as a result, we will be able to coordinate with all federal departments to make sure that the money is provided. And from there, with respect to the criteria as well, we still have some details that need to be worked out. But I can tell you that the money is going to be rolling out very quickly, because we recognize that there are serious needs on the ground, and we want to be there for Canadians. Encore une fois, l'APK est très bien positionnée pour faire la livraison de ses services et puis pour s'assurer que les argents vont être donnés aux personnes qui sont en besoin. L'agence de l'APK, c'est sûr, nous avons à peu près 35 points de service. Ça fait que nous connaissons très bien la population du Canada Atlantique et puis de là, nous pouvons bien coordonner ces services-là. Ça fait que nous allons travailler en étroite collaboration avec les autres ministères fédéraux pour s'assurer que les besoins vont être remplis. Mais encore une fois, l'APK est très bien positionnée pour faire ce travail.
Comme j'ai dit la semaine passée, le gouvernement fédéral va être là pour aider les familles qui ont été dévastées, les communautés qui ont été impactées, les entreprises qui vont avoir du mal à rebâtir. On va être là en partenariat avec les municipalités, avec la province. les Canadiens sont là les uns pour les autres et ce 300 millions fait partie de comment on va le faire.
Prochaine question, next question.
It's Ross Lord at Global National Television. One of the problems historically with storm assistance after disasters in Canada has been making sure that the promises are converted into action quickly. And as Minister Taylor suggested, there's an effort to roll it out quickly. Are you doing this in a different way than previous governments might have done to make sure that that happens? Or are you just saying, everyone try your best to roll this out quickly?
Unfortunately, as a government, we've gotten much better at rolling out disaster assistances, whether it's been the historic flooding we saw in BC just recently, whether there's more and increasing wildfires, whether it was heat waves that are causing real impact. We are seeing more intense extreme weather events because of climate change, and this government has and will continue to be there every step of the way. We work with municipal and provincial partners. We, in a number of cases, have not waited until all the receipts are in to send money. For example, when we know there is going to be a need for assistance that will be in the tens or even hundreds of millions, we start flowing that money immediately to the provinces so that they can deliver help on the ground, and we sort out all the receipts in the following months. This is important. We need to have transparency and accountability, absolutely, but we also need to get the money to families as quickly as possible, especially with winter coming, especially with some of the impacts to community infrastructure, and we're going to be there. Okay. Nous savons que c'est essentiel d'arriver rapidement à livrer l'argent, mais c'est quelque chose que malheureusement, en tant que gouvernement, en tant que pays, on devient de plus en plus habitué, que ce soit des inondations records comme on a vu en Colombie-Britannique ou ailleurs, que ce soit des ouragans plus intenses, que ce soit des feux de forêt. Malheureusement, ce gouvernement continue de développer des meilleures et meilleures techniques pour livrer rapidement l'aide. Par exemple, quand on sait que les dégâts vont être dans les centaines de millions de dollars, on n'attend pas d'avoir tous les reçus pour envoyer l'argent de dédommagement aux provinces. On peut avancer de l'argent parce qu'on sait qu'ils ont besoin de cet argent maintenant, et on fait l'analyse et la comptabilité précise dans les mois qui suivent, parce que l'important, c'est d'être là pour les gens rapidement, particulièrement avec l'hiver qui s'en vient.
Also, can someone explain specifically how this fund applies to someone in Port aux Basques whose house was destroyed or is unlivable, and they're not insured? Are they going to get X amount of dollars to buy or build a new house?
Well, one of the reasons we've chosen to flow this through ACOA is because the regional development agencies are already present on the ground, have the relationships with the communities, with the businesses, and with the municipalities that are looking at these challenges. So I'm happy to turn it over to Minister Petitpas Taylor to talk about that. But yes, we will be there to help with people who are uninsured or underinsured for the kinds of damages that they've gone through.
Thank you. Once again, we have to remember that this is one program, one federal program, and as the Prime Minister indicated, ACOA is very, very well positioned because that we certainly have the relationships on the ground. We have more than 35 points of service, and our staff at ACOA have already been in touch with many individuals, many small and medium-sized businesses across Atlantic Canada that have been impacted. And as such, again, that is why ACOA is so well positioned to coordinate the funds through the 4 Atlantic provinces and also through the Quebec area as well.
Prochaine question.
Oui, Héloïse Rodriguez, Radio-Canada. Monsieur Trudeau, hier, le premier ministre de la Nouvelle-Écosse a dit qu'il avait demandé l'aide de 1000 militaires. Or, on a obtenu à peu près l'aide de la moitié. Pouvez-vous expliquer, si le besoin est là, pourquoi ne pas déployer plus d'aide ici en Nouvelle-Écosse et ailleurs en Atlantique?
Depuis les débuts, j'ai fait la promesse que nous allons être là pour les besoins sur le terrain. On a rapidement envoyé des centaines de militaires sur le terrain pour aider, et on continue d'aider d'être là pour répondre aux demandes précises. On a besoin de s'assurer que ces militaires sont en train d'aider de façon concrète et directe. C'est toujours ces conversations-là qui continuent. Je vais m'asseoir avec le premier ministre Houston dans quelques heures, puis on va parler exactement des tâches et des besoins qu'ils ont sur le terrain. Mais comme je dis depuis le début, nous allons être là pour rencontrer les besoins nécessaires.
Merci. Et en suivi, par rapport aux élections au Québec, est-ce que c'est normal, selon vous, qu'un parti qui récolte seulement 41 % des votes remporte 72 % des sièges? Est-ce que vous pensez que ça alimente le cynisme des électeurs?
Je pense que quand on regarde à travers le monde, on peut être rassuré qu'au Canada, on a une démocratie forte et on a des élections qui se déroulent avec des débats acharnés. Mais dans la paix et dans la civilité, ce qu'on n'est pas en train de voir nécessairement à travers le monde. Je pense qu'il y a toujours des conversations qu'on peut avoir sur comment améliorer le taux de participation et défaire et diminuer le cynisme que les gens ont envers la politique. Mais on voit aussi qu'il y a des millions de personnes qui ont contribué et qui veulent avoir leur mot à dire sur l'avenir de leur province, de leur pays, et c'est une bonne chose.
And the last question, go ahead.
Prime Minister, this is a question from my colleagues in Ottawa. It's Keith Doucette, the Canadian Press. Your own MP, Ali Assasi, says the Iran sanctions are, quote, too little too late. The families of PS 752 are upset you haven't brought the perpetrators to the International Tribunal. So how can you say this is a priority when our allies are much tougher on Iran?
Let me start by saying that Canada stands with the families of PS 752. Over the past 1,000 days, we have been with them in condemning Iran's callous and horrific shoot-down of a civilian airliner. As we're seeing now, its continued repression of its own people, its violation of human rights, and the murder of not just women like Mahsa Amini, who are standing up for her rights and her freedom, but also students, young people, Iranian women who are courageously protesting against this brutal and bloodthirsty regime that is increasingly illegitimate in the eyes of all around the world, not just of Canadians. We have continued to move forward in coordinating with the international community on holding Iran to account for the shoot-down of PS 752, created more difficultly by the fact that the Iranian regime refuses to accept any responsibility or take any accountability for that horrific action against its own civilians. And we further moved forward with some of the stronger sanctions against Iran by any country around the world, including, as of yesterday, sanctioning a number of the top members of the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, and making sure that they are not profiting or benefiting from their role in the repression of human rights, including ensuring that we go after them for any assets and homes they may have in Canada. The Iranian community and indeed people around the world continue to watch with horror at what this regime is doing to its own citizens, to students, to women standing up for their rights. I think, like many of you, I was horrified to see some of the videos over the weekend that are coming out of Iran, but also deeply touched by the courage of people standing up against a brutal regime for a better future. And I can tell you that all Canadians, this government and all political parties stand with the people of Iran as we stand up for women's rights and human rights in Iran and around the world. Je peux vous dire que le Canada, depuis 1000 jours maintenant, se tient avec les familles des victimes du vol PS 752 qui a été abattu par le gouvernement iranien, un acte horrible pour lequel le gouvernement iran continue de refuser de prendre quelconque responsabilité et d'admettre leur rôle dans cette action horrifique. Mais aussi, on est en train de travailler avec nos partenaires à l'international, les autres pays qui ont perdu de leurs citoyens, dans cet attentat. Et nous allons continuer de s'assurer qu'il y ait des conséquences pour l'Iran, rendues évidemment plus difficiles par le fait que le gouvernement iranien refuse d'accepter quelconque responsabilité. Par rapport aux actions plus récentes de l'Iran, on a vu avec horreur non seulement le meurtre de Mahsa Amini, mais ensuite le courage de femmes et d'Iraniens qui se tiennent debout contre ce régime qui devient de plus en plus illégitime quand ils s'attaquent à leur propre peuple. On voit des étudiants, on voit des jeunes, on voit même des étudiants à l'école primaire et secondaire se tenir contre ce régime, se tenir debout pour leur liberté, même à risque de leur vie. Et je peux vous dire que tous les Canadiens, tous les différents partis et ce gouvernement sont là avec ces femmes en Iran, sont là pour continuer de lutter pour plus de liberté humaine. C'est pour ça, le droit de la personne, c'est pour ça que nous avons avancé des sanctions extrêmement fortes avec des nouvelles mesures que nous avions mis en place en tant que gouvernement sur les dernières années pour s'assurer que le leadership du corps révolutionnaire de l'Iran soit puni pour leur rôle à jouer dans ce que ce régime continue de faire.
And on one other topic, Prime Minister, Alberta frontrunner Danielle Smith says her first bill will disregard federal laws. What will your first move be in response?
Our government's priority is to work with premiers of the provinces to deliver for their citizens in concrete ways as we fight for better opportunities for people, grow the economy, support families with the cost of living, fight climate change, and continue to build a better future. I look forward to working with the next Premier of Alberta, as I have worked with premiers across the country, to deliver for Albertans and indeed for all Canadians. Okay. La priorité de ce gouvernement, c'est de travailler avec les premiers ministres des provinces sur les enjeux qui préoccupent leurs citoyens et tous les Canadiens, que ce soit de lutter contre les changements climatiques, de bâtir une économie forte et inclusive pour aider avec les coûts de la vie. Je vais continuer de travailler avec quiconque sera le prochain ou la prochaine première ministre de l'Alberta.
Thank you. That concludes today's press conference. Merci tout le monde.